We've now integrated all three projects together. So at this point in time, I'm going to take a very quick pause and just make sure that it's crystal clear how you would develop an application like this in the real world. All right, so quick diagram. So we're going to imagine that maybe we have one engineering team in charge of each sub-project. So for team number one, they might be in charge of products, team number two might be in charge of cart, and team number three might be in charge of the container. Teams number one and two can develop their entire application in isolation. In other words, team number one can develop products by itself, and they don't really have to care about what any other team is doing. They can have all their own dependencies, all their own tooling. The only requirement is that they make use of Webpack and they make use of the Module Federation plugin. That's pretty much it. So for team number one, in order to develop their project, all they have to do is change into the products directory, run npm start inside there. They can then navigate to localhost 8081 and see their application appear on the screen. They can then develop their products application in isolation. Same thing for team number two. The only difference is that they're going to go into the cart directory and their application will be running at localhost 8082. Team number three is the only one that's going to have any amount of crossover. So team number three would need to make sure that all three sub-projects are running. So they would need to make sure they run npm start inside of cart, products, and container. Then they would navigate to localhost 8080, and they would be making changes only to the container application, just to make sure that they are showing the correct sub-app in the correct part of the screen, make sure that navigation works, and stuff like that. We'll go into more on what the container's goal really is over time. Right now, remember, we're just saying that it's showing the other two applications. Now, there is one other thing I want to make sure that's really, really clear, because you might be a little bit confused around the existence of these HTML files. Okay, same diagram, I'm just a little bit lower, and I added on these red boxes. So just to make sure it's really clear, our products and cart applications have index.html files inside them. Those HTML files are only used during the development of these sub-projects. They're only used to load up products and cart and get them visible on the screen of the browser. So inside of any kind of production environment, we do not make use of the HTML files inside of products or cart. Instead, we load up the JavaScript only from products and cart into our container. And so ultimately, it is the HTML file inside of container that will be used during production. So again, we only really worry about the HTML files in product and cart during development. And for that reason, those HTML files are usually going to be very, very simple and very sparse. We're not going to really have a lot of markup in them. In general, we're just going to have some kind of root element where we can render our application into. And then we just make sure that our app works as expected. Okay, so hopefully this entire development process is just a little bit more clear now. And there is just one or two more changes and other topics I want to go into in this application. So quick pause and just a little bit more.